Alright guys, so I just picked up Pokemon yesterday and I've been playing it. I've played about 6 hours of it so far, and I just wanted to tell you lot what I think of it so far, if it's any good. I've only gotten past the first gym so far, almost reached the second one, but it takes quite a while. I think I'm almost 5 hours in, something like that. So it takes quite a while to get to the second gym, especially the first one. But yeah, if you just want the short answer, it doesn't. I was expecting a lot worse, to be honest, with everyone saying Gamefreak lied, which they did technically, but before Let's Go Pikachu, I hadn't played one since X and Y. I mean, I technically had Alpha Sapphire, but I barely played it, so I won't really count it. But yeah, so I didn't have high hopes, didn't like Let's Go Pikachu at all. I found it quite boring. The XP share was ridiculously overpowered. Pikachu itself was insanely overpowered. You didn't need any other Pokemon, it was completely pointless. I don't think I lost a single battle in the entire game. Barely had to use any items. It was just ridiculously easy, like insanely easy. It wasn't very fun. It was decent looking, but well, it was alright. I don't think it looked the best. I think it could have looked a lot better. Anyway, so bought that, played it, didn't really like it. So came in this year. I tried to stay away from most of the leaks. I did look at Sobble's evolution because everyone was saying it was really weird. So actually, that's a lie. I saw Sobble's evolution and I saw Grookey's final evolution. And seeing Sobble's evolutions just turned me off Sobble completely. I didn't want to use him. I didn't like how he looked really. And so I ended up picking Grookey. I didn't really want to pick Scorbunny. Scorbunny's probably the most generic starter out of the three, I'd say. I think, well, from looking at it, I would assume it's a fire fighting type, but even if it isn't, I just thought it was a bit bland, a bit basic. So I went for Grookey. I also stayed away from most of the new Pokemon that they announced. I didn't look at any of the leaks. Even some of the ones they revealed officially, I sort of stayed away from it. I wanted to be completely surprised. I wanted to feel similar to Gen 5, where I went into Gen 5 was properly my first Pokemon game that I ever beat. So everything was new to me then. I was worried that the XP share, especially that you couldn't turn it off, was going to ruin the game like it did in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And people argue both sides on this. There's strong opinions on both sides. Some people were saying, you know, why would you want more grinding? Why would you argue against something making your life easier? But I used to like sort of the satisfaction of catching a low level Pokemon and leveling him up myself. And you pretty much couldn't do that in the Let's Go games, because the way the XP share seemed to work is that your highest level Pokemon would always stay the highest level, and your lowest level would always stay the lowest level. They wouldn't sort of meet, at least from what I could tell. So it was not the best. But in this game, well, I didn't think I'd like it, but I do actually like the EXP share. I think they balanced it well. It makes sense. It doesn't seem to make it too easy. It makes getting lower level Pokemon that you might want to add to your team, it makes them level up not very quickly, but more easier to level them up. Like at one point I got a Pokemon from an egg and I wanted to use that in my party, and I didn't even have to use him in battle until he was about 5 levels off my other Pokemon, and to get him there it didn't take that long really, so I quite like that. For me, I didn't think I'd like it, but I ended up liking it. Another thing I wasn't sure if I'd like was a lack of random encounters. There kind of are in this game, but not really. It's a strange system. I didn't like it in Let's Go games either. I liked it initially for the novelty of seeing them running around, but after the novelty sort of wore off, I didn't really like it. I think it was worse because it was first gen, so there was less variety roaming about. So once you'd seen them a few times, there wasn't really anything new to look at. Eventually I just sort of got used to sort of avoiding them. They didn't really seem to chase you or do anything in the Let's Go games, they just sort of wandered about. So you could avoid basically every battle if you wanted to, extremely easily. But in this game, they actually pursue you. I think it's based on level. I think if they're a higher level than you, they'll pursue you. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it seems to be, at least in the wild area. But yeah, they'll chase you. They seem to be a bit more dense, like the grass is sort of not spread out as much, but the Pokemon in the grass is more densely packed, so you're more likely to run into them. There is sort of wild encounters, so what you'll have is you'll roam around and a question mark will appear, not a question mark, an exclamation mark, and it'll appear sort of in a random place around you. So you can still avoid it if you want, but if you're not really paying attention, you just run into it and get a random encounter anyway. And even, I like the random encounters because in the Let's Go games you already knew before you went to the battle what you were going to get, and I sort of like the surprise. Sometimes I like the surprise of seeing what I get without knowing. So them adding that was very good. I think they've tweaked the encounter system very well. As before, when they when the game was first announced, I thought they were bringing back random encounters completely, and I was very happy. Then slowly I started to realise that roaming Pokemon were back, and that there was no random encounters technically, and I was a bit disappointed. But playing the game, it feels almost identical to how you'd play one of the DS games. It seems to be sort of a similar frequency of random encounters that you would get normally anyway, just with a little bit more liveliness to it. So happy about that as well. The graphics, they're not great, to be honest. Like they're fine. In handheld mode it feels better, but when you play in handheld mode, the way I think of it is that if there was such a thing as a HDS, like a high definition Nintendo DS, this is what I would expect games to look like on it. TV doesn't really hold up as well. It still feels like just sort of an upscaled, not mobile game, but maybe an upscaled 3DS game. And I was thinking about it, if I got this game even on my Wii U, I'd probably be disappointed with how it looked, really. Like, on the Wii U it would be lower res, it'd probably be 720p instead of, I think it's 1080p, I'm not sure, but even if it was 720p on the Wii U, I would still sort of be like, it's not, like, the Wii U could push something like Breath of the Wild, so I think I would still be disappointed with how it looks. It feels to me like a transitional game, because you start the game as a normal Pokemon game and then you get introduced into the wild area fairly quickly, and it feels great. Like the free roaming camera, it feels like that's how the game should be in general. And the wild area is very ugly. It's not good. I know everyone talks about the trees not being great, but it's true. Like, everything is very bare bones and basic. When you're offline, the wild area seems pretty smooth frame rate wise, but as soon as you connect to the internet and there's other players roaming around, at least for the first day, I don't know if it's got anything to do with the servers, maybe that will have an impact, so maybe in a week's time it'll smooth itself out. But the frame rate does dip quite a bit when you connect to the internet. It gets a lot more inconsistent. But actually roaming around and using the free camera and everything feels great, so I'm hoping, maybe not next year, but the year after, the next Pokemon game will be fully sort of open world-esque, where you have a free camera, a more varied movement. One of the last things really that I can think of is the movement does feel strange. It feels like, again, sort of like it would work on the 3DS, and it probably did. I haven't played like Sun and Moon, but from what I've seen in videos, it looks similar. But on a console, on the TV, it's very erratic. Like, you just sort of go from nothing to 100 instantly. And I notice in animations they try, like with your rival, when he runs away, they start him off slow and sort of pick up the pace, but it still doesn't look natural. It looks sort of like a botched job. Overall, like, I wish it looked better. I wish it was a better one. I don't even know if it's the engine's fault. I just don't know if they didn't have enough time to polish it up or what. But there are some scenes where it looks really good, like in the gym or the stadium, whatever. Game looks really, really good. But then there's other times, even like the starting village, it just doesn't look finished. So hopefully that's something that they can improve on in the future now that they've got all the assets for a HD Pokemon game going. One of the last things is obviously the Pokedex. There's no national dex anymore. As I'm playing through it right now, I wouldn't have even noticed, to be honest. But I know a lot of people want certain Pokemon to be in it. There's no chance they'll update it. It is disappointing that they use the same models from the 3DS, so they did kind of lie. I don't know. I think it's poor marketing on their part, to be honest. They definitely could have done better. I mean, I believe it's the biggest sort of video game franchise ever, or that currently exists, so obviously they would have the assets to hire more people and get it sorted, but they chose not to, so I don't know. Hopefully next year they'll have all the Pokemon. Hopefully they import them all this time, I don't know. But to be honest, I'll probably beat the game. I'm not really into the competitive side of it, so I'll probably beat it. I wanted to use new Pokemon anyway, so not having all the old one doesn't really bother me too much. I'll probably just beat it, put it aside, and then just wait for the next one. So for me personally, although it is like technically annoying that they just couldn't be bothered, I don't know what it is, to include all of them or import all of them. But I mean, for me personally, it doesn't really affect me, so I'm fine with it. Very last thing that I wish that they'd improve on is the animations. The new animations look fine, but a lot of them are taken directly from the 3DS still. Like one of the big ones that comes to mind is like Tail Whip is literally just a static Pokemon being swung 180 degrees and then swung back. It's like, it doesn't look great. Certain weird decisions that they made as well. I like the mole Pokemon, I forgot what his name is, but he was using something like, he was using a move basically where he claws at your Pokemon, and he just sort of stands there idly, and you see like a claw sort of marking animation appear in front of him. And I was like, oh well, they could have used his hands and done like a little clawing animation, but you know, whatever, that's fine. But then the next move he does, he swings his claws, and I'm like, what? Why didn't they use that for the clawing move? I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do that. There's like weird inconsistencies that don't really make sense. Like they've already done the work, they just haven't implemented it right, or I don't know. The move animations could definitely be improved, but I sort of understand it more. I sort of understand why they wouldn't improve them too much, because they, you know, you can't expect them to do an animation for every single move for every single Pokemon if they're going to be doing a Pokemon game yearly, and even if it wasn't yearly, it's a lot of effort. So I let that slide, but there are certain animations that do need to improve. Idle animations as well. General consensus of them is just a Pokemon and he sways to the left and he sways to the right, rinse and repeat, and it's just boring. Like every Pokemon does it, or most Pokemon do it. I feel like more effort could have been put into making them feel more alive as well, other than just sort of sway left to right. But that's something that they can improve on in the future. Again, this doesn't ruin the game for me. It's just I wish it was better. You know, it's fine. I'm still enjoying playing the game. It is fun. I'll probably carry on playing it later on today. Try and beat the second gym. And then maybe when I beat it, I'll give my like final impressions. But this is just my early impressions of it anyway. So if you enjoyed hearing my impressions of the video, give me a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.